kids did you have?
I have 2 children. Your daddy, William Dale Hensley, and I have Stephen Aaron Hensley, who was born 13 years after your daddy. There's 13 years, well really 12 years and 8 months between your daddy and your Uncle Stephen. And I married William Ray Hensley, who is your papa, 50 years ago. Me and Papa's been married 50 years. It's a long time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Who are you married to?
William Ray Hensley. And you know what he did just this last weekend? On Valentine's Day, he took me all the way to Carter Caves, and we spent the weekend at Carter Caves, having a big dinner and seeing a dinner theater, and he got me a big card and a big box of candy for Valentine's Day after 50 years. That's pretty good, isn't it?
What has changed since you've been growing up?
A whole lot of things. Like I told you, when I first was growing up, everybody didn't have a TV in their house. There might be one person on the block that had a TV, and that all changed. It went, changed a lot. Telephones went from dialing the operator and having her get your number for you. Can you even imagine that, Koen? There was a dial on the phone, and you would dial the operator and she would get your number. And you would have numbers like 413, and you would have different people on your line. It was called a party line. You might have 4 or 5 different people on the same line that you were trying to talk on. And each one of you had your own ring. Different kinds of rings. It might ring 2 or 3 times. It might ring once. It might have a funny ring. And sure didn't have telephones in their car that you could take on your car and take pictures. Oh my goodness. We didn't even have, it was a big deal when the cameras started having the film come out, and you get the picture, the Polaroid. That was something that was great when that happened. But your granny, she used to work in for the telephone company, and she was what was called a long distance operator. And there was a big board up in front of me, and when somebody would call in, and they were calling, like if you were calling your Aunt Amy, it's Cincinnati, right? If you were calling Aunt Amy in Cincinnati, you couldn't pick up the phone and dial her number and go right through. You had to call an operator. And the operator would take a big long plug and plug it into this board and put the numbers in and call your Aunt Amy. And they only had a certain amount of time to talk, because you got charged for every minute you talked long distance. A big difference, isn't it?
When you were little, was Disney World ever built?
No, Disney was built in the 50s. Granny was about 10 years old when Disney World was built. But I've never been to Disney World. Never have. One of these days, I might still go with you all one day. And cars, oh, they were different. My goodness, you didn't go past 50 miles an hour. That was me going fast.
Tell me about my dad when he was growing up.
Your dad he really was a good kid. Always was. Only thing is, he had some really good friends that got him in trouble all the time. Guess who those 2 friends were?
Who?
Who are these 2 friends now that get him in trouble?
Uncle Stephen.
No, Uncle Stephen. No, who's his best friend? one of his best friends that cuts down trees.
Robert.
Robert and your daddy grew up together. Did you know that? And Robert would come over here and eat supper and play. And your granny used to take care of little boys and girls, and they'd be outside playing ball. And they'd be having such a good time, and here would come your daddy, and here would come Robert. And they'd pick up the kids and set them in the tree, take the bat, draw it in the next yard, do everything they could, set them on top of their heads, do everything in the world to aggravate them. And then after they were here and got them all worked up, they'd take off and leave them. And guess who had quietened them down? Granny did. But your daddy was a pretty good feller.
What makes you proud of my dad?
What makes me proud of your dad?
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of things. The main thing that makes me proud of your dad is that he's a good Christian man, and that he loves his family, and he loves God, and he does everything that he can to be the best Christian he can be.
Have you accomplished what you desired in life?
Mostly. Of course, there's always some things. When I was a little girl growing up, I was saved when I was 7 years old. And I would go around the neighborhood and give out pamphlets, and I would go and knock on people's door and ask them to go to church. And I decided when I was about 8 years old that I wanted to be a missionary when I grew up. And of course I didn't do that. But I thought about it, and then I realized I could be a missionary here at home. And that's one of the reasons I started watching children and taking care of children and helping their families. Because in a way that was my mission work.
What was your desire?
To be a missionary when I was a little girl. And I feel like in a way I fulfilled that desire.